on this Warp Discovery, I am joined by Simon Chaffetz, a software engineer at WarpStream. And today we're going to cover WarpStream's philosophy and implementation of Bring Your Own Cluster, also BYOC. So with that out of the way, welcome, Simon. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks, Shawn. Good to see you.
You too. All right. So this is a deep topic. It's an important topic, and I think we should just dive into it. So I know you've got some materials ready, and I'm going to leave you to it, and I'll ask some questions as we go.
All right, sweet. Thank you. So I'm going to walk through the steps of deploying the WarpStream agent in BYOC mode, meaning we're not running the agent for you, but you are. And what that means is you will need to run the agent on your own compute and also provide your own backing store to store the log messages. The backing store, right now, we only support S3. We may add support for more sorts of stores in the future. So at a high level, what this is going to look like is we're going to use Kubernetes as the platform to run the compute on. And that's what we'll deploy the agent to. We're going to provision an S3 bucket. We'll do some permission stuff to make sure that the agent running in that Kubernetes cluster has access to that bucket. And then we're going to run a very small process in the same Kubernetes cluster to consume and produce messages from that agent using the standard open source Apache Kafka client. And we'll watch the agent working in action.
Awesome. All right, let's dive in.
So I'm going to share my screen if I may, and walk you through these steps. Okay. So this document here is public for everyone on the internet to refer to. You can see we have some prereqs that I'm assuming you have. Importantly, you need to have the AWS CLI tool installed. You should have, we're assuming that you already have the Kubernetes cluster running because that is a pretty big lift to run and generally merits a tutorial in and of itself. And then a shell session that can talk to that cluster.
Put and the link to that repo in the video description so people can get it.
Sweet. Thanks. So as a first step, I recommend cloning this repository that's public that has some supporting files, in particular some Terraform files that will speed up some of the walkthrough so you don't have to worry about individual IAM permissions, etc.
Okay.
So here we're in the WarpStream web console to create the new virtual cluster. We want to create a BYOC cluster as per this demo. And we give it a name with underscores, BYOC demo cluster. The region is up to your preference geographically. And I'm going to create a cluster. So I can create this using Terraform as well, but I'm showing you how to do it here with the console.
Okay.
And now my agent is running. It has no activity. And the tab that is relevant to us here is the agent keys. The agent keys are a kind of API key that will allow our agent to talk to this virtual cluster. So the agent will be running in our cloud, and the virtual cluster is running in the WarpStream control plane. And this is the credential that we need. So I'm holding on this key, and I'll go back to my instruction steps. We're going to want the virtual cluster's ID as well and the agent key, so we'll get back to that. So next up, we want to configure the S3 bucket that the WarpStream agent will store the Kafka messages in, as well as the IAM role that will give access to that bucket. And we can do all that simply by applying the Terraform configuration files that are in this public repo.
Okay.
So let's run that. And we are happy with these values. All right, sweet. So we output after this Terraform apply the ARN of the role that was just created and the URL of the bucket that was just created. We can go take a look here in the AWS console, and we see that we have a S3 bucket set up with nothing in it, but yeah, it's there. And it allows this role to take these actions on its resources. These actions are documented in WarpStream's public documentation. There are the actions that the agent needs to be able to take on your behalf when talking to your S3 bucket.
Okay.
So moving on, we want to copy the S3 bucket URL and the role ARN. So we'll get back to those. Now we get to the fun part of deploying the agent. Next up, we need to authenticate my self session with the Kubernetes cluster so that we can manage it from my terminal. So
Okay.
update kubeconfig with the name of my cluster.
Okay.
And let's just confirm that I can reach my cluster. Okay, so I've got 2 nodes and they're ready. So we can get to releasing WarpStream's Helm chart. This is really the sort of most custom part of the demo, is when we actually use WarpStream's Helm chart. So make sure I have it in my Helm repo. It's skipped because I already had it. For good measure, we'll update.
Okay.
And finally, I'm going to release the Helm chart. But before that, I'm not going to forget to set some values. So here's the virtual cluster ID that we mentioned earlier.
Okay.
Yep. And we got the virtual cluster ID right here in the overview. Setting that there.
Okay.
Yes. The agent key, exactly. Which we had over here.
And the bucket URL.
That's right. Which was in my output, but is also, if you lost the output. Oh, actually in the console, they give you the ARN, but what we want is the URL. So let's go back up here and just grab it from the Terraform output. And the region is always already set to the right thing, but if you created the cluster in a different AWS region, then you would update that here. So this is basically giving the agent all the details it needs to be able to talk to the virtual cluster that I created, as well as the address of the URL that it'll be storing the messages in. And you'll notice there's also the region in the URL itself. So you want to make sure that reflects the region that you're deploying in.
Yeah,
all right.
Issues. Okay.
There we go. So now my Kubernetes cluster has the configs it needs to run the WarpStream agent.
Excellent.
And yeah, let's see how that went for my cluster. So I'm going to get list of pods. Okay. It looks like my agents are there. So I have pods that are running the WarpStream agent, but they are failing. And that's actually expected. If you think about it, I told the agent which bucket it needs to read and write the messages to and from. But the AWS S3 bucket doesn't know that I want to give those pods running my agent permission to talk to the bucket. Exactly. Okay. I can confirm that by getting the logs of any one of these. And what do I see? Indeed, access denied. So that's S3 saying, I don't know who you are. You can't access the files inside or can't write files.
Okay.
So that's what we see in the explanation. You may have another issue of insufficient resources, and that would just be a case of having to provision more resources, more compute in your Kubernetes cluster.
Okay.
But yeah, let's fix this credentials issue. So we're going to get around this permission issue in a slightly hacky way. We're going to locally assume the role that was provisioned that has access to that S3 bucket, and then grab the secrets that AWS gives us from assuming that role, pass those on to the agent. But again, this is a hacky way to manage secrets. You can do this at home. Don't do it at work. And we want to name the session. You name it anything you want. That part doesn't matter. But AWS does require a name. Cool. And now it's giving me these credentials. I can share them with you because they're short-lived.
Okay.
So I got these credentials. Now I want to pass them to Kubernetes, so I can use this kubectl CLI tool because I authenticated my shell earlier. I want to give it my access key ID, my role secret access key, and the session token. It needs all 3 of these. It's very long strings. Cool. Now, it might take a bit of time for the pods to figure out what just happened to them, but pretty soon we should see them no longer in crash loop back off, but actually just running happily. And we can see already one of them has reached that state.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at what's going on with that one. All right. And these are, no error logs. We see some info logs. This is just the agent doing its thing. So what do I have at this point? I have an agent running in my Kubernetes cluster, talking to the WarpStream control plane using the agent key that I passed it, and also talking to the S3 bucket, storing and reading messages in there, compacting files using the credentials that I just passed to it so that it can assume the role. Now, you could take my word for it and say, okay, well, the agent is running now. And if I go back into the S3 bucket, I see that there is nothing in there. And that's because no one is sending produce messages to the agent. So it is sitting there, it's ready, but we'd like to see it do its thing. So let's give that a try too.
Okay. I'm down for that.
Sweet. We're going to do that by provisioning a Kubernetes pod that I configured with this WarpStream BYOC demo pod.yaml file, which is already in my BYOC demo repo.
Okay.
So maybe let's take a look at that pod file just to demystify what's in there. The most important thing is
the Bootstrap server.
Yes. So it's configuring some properties that the open source consumer and producer CLI tool expects. And then you can see that it's pulling a Docker image that I've uploaded that has nothing in it except those open source CLI tools. So let's install the configs into our Kubernetes cluster to run a pod that has the open source Apache Kafka client installed.
Okay.
So I run these. Okay, I already had them. It says it's unchanged. And let's just make sure I have my extra pod now. Okay, so I still have my agent pods running, and then I have this new pod that I just called WarpStream BYOC demo.
Okay.
And I can open a bash shell into that pod. Let's tell this shell, okay, you are going to be consuming events from the topic called test. And this has no specificity to WarpStream. This is the Kafka console producer consumer open source CLI tool. It expects a Bootstrap server URL, which looks standard, except that the first part doesn't have a scheme. This is a Kubernetes specific schema where I'm passing it the name that's associated with the pod that is running the agent. So if you're familiar with Kubernetes, this should not be too surprising. But as far as Kubernetes is concerned, this is a valid URL.
Okay.
And I'm running my consumer. Nothing's happening because there's no events being produced, but the consumer is ready. So now in this other terminal, let's open another shell in the same pod. And let's start producing events. Now I can say A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, and you can see in the other terminal, those events are showing up. So this is kind of a toy example. This is all running, in the same Kubernetes cluster, and we actually on the same pod have a producer and a consumer. Your architecture in production is likely to look different, but at least this demonstrates that the agent, which is running in a separate pod, is able to support a open source Kafka console producer and consumer and relay messages between the two.
Okay, nice.
So that's our demo.
Nice. So should we see something in AWS then from what you just created?
Oh yeah, good question. Actually, if I go over here to my bucket and I hit refresh, voila, I see a WarpStream folder has been added. This is the virtual cluster ID that we had earlier. I can confirm that here. There it is, the same ID. Yeah. And then, beyond that, we're getting into WarpStream's specific encoding. So we're not going to try to make sense of these folders, but you can see that the agent is doing stuff to our bucket.
Well, that is awesome. I really appreciate you walking through that with me, Simon.
Thanks, Shawn. It was fun. Yeah, we're pretty excited to see what people do with the bring your own cloud deployment model.
Are there any, additional things people should be keeping in mind around this topic when they're architecting, or have we at least asked the question enough or given people enough information where they're going to think about it on their own?
Mhm. Well, I guess the number one point I emphasize when I'm talking about BYOC is how this really nice balance it strikes between low management overhead, where a lot of the heavy lifting is handled by the WarpStream control plane. And so the things that we're asking you to configure are very standard, some compute, in this case of Kubernetes cluster, and then the S3 bucket. But in spite of that, you still have the same control over your data as if you were running everything entirely on-prem, because the messages are being stored by the agent running in your cluster in an S3 bucket that is inside your VPC. So sensitive data is not leaving your VPC. And yeah, we think that that unlocks a lot of real world use cases where data governance is a big concern.
Yeah, typically people don't want you having access to their data, in my experience.
The less, the better.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it, Simon.
Thank you, Shawn. I enjoyed walking through all this with you.